My name is Siddhi Joshi. I am a business development executive here at FoodSafetyWorks, and I welcome all of you to today's on-demand webinar. In this webinar, we are going to discuss about the market research for food businesses. So before we begin with the training, I would like to let you know a little bit about us, FoodSafetyWorks. So who are we? We are houses of food technologists, microbiologists, nutritionists with an expertise in food safety and quality system domain. We have successfully established systems and implemented food safety standards across various levels of the food chain, including manufacturing units, catering units, storage and distribution companies, as well as the retail units for food. We have designed the plants and kitchen layouts for some of the leading manufacturing units, cafes, catering companies, and food outlets. We have on-site QA expertise for top corporate cafes, and we are also FSSI partner for FOSTAC trainings and FSSI Eat Right initiatives. So, why us? We are completely focused on a food as a business and provide end-to-end solutions. We have cumulative team experience of over 100 years in the domain of food safety, food technology, and operations. We as a team have a thorough understanding of the national as well as international standards and regulations surrounding food businesses. We have set up and implemented food safety management systems like ISO 22000, FSSC, and BRC at over 50 factories, catering units, and cafeterias. Till now, we have delivered 250 plus trainings on food safety and conducted over 6,000 audits. We are in this domain for last 14 plus years, and we have our presence over 75 plus cities, 5 plus countries, including USA, some of the countries in Europe and Middle East. And we have served 600 plus clients till now. Visions and values. So we want to be a company that is respected by its customers for its technical knowledge and capability to understand their needs to provide verifiable solutions. And we believe that transparency, continuity, and objectivity, along with the flexibility, are our values for our company. So we believe that every food manufacturing or a catering company is different. They will have a different requirements, and the solution should be customized according to their needs and the company culture they have. So we always come up with the solutions which is applicable for their setup particularly. We try to keep this process of consultancy as transparent as possible and try to accumulate the team of client in the process as much as possible. We also keep the background ready for the clients with us to keep the process continuous. We give all the solutions based on adequate references and not based on our personal opinions. And as I told earlier, all of our solution are flexible and accumulate all the clients in the process. Next one, I will let you know all about a little bit about our services. The first one is layout and designing. So layout and designing of the factory or the catering company plays crucial role in the food safety management. So we help our client in layout and designing for their setup. The next one is food standard implementation. So all of you are aware about different food safety standards, including BRC, FSSC 22000, ISO 22000, IFS, and many more. So we help our clients implementing these standards at their location. The next one is training and development. So along with the FOSTAC training programs, we help our clients with the learning solutions like upskill session, master classes, and workshop. In this session, we cover national and international regulations in food, as well as different programs like pest management and environmental monitoring programs, which are crucial for food safety. So these get covered in our upskill and master classes. While in our workshop, we cover the internal audit training program for different standards. We have also our app called Food Safety Works Academy. It is available on Google Play Store. You can download it from there and you can have look at our upcoming training programs. Also register using the app and enroll for these courses on your own pace. The next one is regulatory compliance. So we help our clients to adhere with the national and international guidelines. So FSSI is a governing body for food businesses in India. So we help our clients to adhere all the regulations by given by FSSI for their particular business. This include getting a license or maintaining the license in terms of annual return filing, license modification, and renewals. We also take care of label reviews and label designing. And if you are a company which is exporting or importing in India, we can help you with the entire process in terms of regulatory compliance. The next one is audits and inspection. For the better management of food standards or even a schedule for requirements, the audits plays very important role. So we help our clients in audits and monitoring systems. We help with gap audits and supply verification audits as well. The next one is a new product development. So we, with our own lab, we help our clients in new product development. It is inclusive of new product formulation, recipe standardization, and shelf life studies. We also help in extending the shelf life of the existing product. We help our clients in getting third-party manufacturer, ingredient and raw material supplier under this service. Now I will play a small video of our company. Thank you so much, everyone. Now I'm handing over session to Mr. Abhinav Srivastava. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Siddhi. That's quite an elaborate presentation. So, yeah, so people who know us, they know that we largely do a lot of technical stuff around food. Of course, we also cover the regulatory and the compliance pieces of it. But we also understand that there is another aspect, which is the commercial aspect related to all the food businesses. So this session in particular, we want to have a quick chat and a quick overview about market research and why is it important for food businesses. I hope all of you can see my screen and I'm audible. Please confirm.
Yes, sir. We can see your screen as well as your audio.
Thank you. All right. So moving on, let's try and understand first of all, what is market research? Okay, and why would need it? So market research is not specific to food as such. It can be done in any vertical, any domain. Largely, it is a process of gathering and analyzing data. What a company's target market, competitors, and industry in general. So it blends consumer behavior, it blends economic trends, just to improve and validate the business idea which you have. Normally, we will have some idea which can become a startup, or the company would already be running as a corporate company for certain products, and they would like to diversify. So before you get on to actually creating a product, and before you get on to uh, putting it into the regular supply chain, what usually is done is you do a market research just to understand that what is that expectation from the market. So market research can basically help you understand multiple things. First of course is the demand. Is there a demand for this product? Many times we have seen that people would say, hey, listen, I feel this product will work. Right? But then when products get launched in the market, and you understand, hey, maybe the demand is too niche, or somewhere what I thought initially is not what people want. So it helps one understand if there's really a demand for a product or a service. Then, of course, if there's a demand, how big is the demand? Is it big enough to take care of uh, your economics? Will it help you scale up? Right. So that's what a market size is all about. So market research can help you with this as well. Then, of course, certain economic indicators for your target. So who are the people who are going to consume your product or service? What is the kind of income ranges they have? Uh, what kind of lifestyle they do have? What kind of behavior they have, or certain attitude they have towards your product or product category? That also can be deciphered from market researches. Then where is your potential market? So typically in India, we talk about tier one, tier two, tier three, and we say those are the urban markets. And then there is, of course, another rural market segment, right? So there are products which you can also launch for rural markets, which is, of course, a highly growing, market. So where are your customers residing? Where are your consumers? Okay. How do you reach out to them? So these kind of inputs can also be gathered from market research. Then there is something called as market saturation. So let's say if you come up with a product and you feel that um, this should work, you would like to know that if there are already similar products in the market. So if there are similar products, how many uh, product variations are there in the market? So this will give you an idea whether the market is saturated or it can still absorb your product. And lastly, and the most importantly, what kind of pricing will the consumers pay for your product or service? Largely, it all boils down to uh, understanding the price band where you can play with, what is the price positioning you can take for your product or service. It will help you, again, do a backward calculation whether in how many months or years will your business become positive, in the sense financially positive. Right? So that is what briefly MR is. And as I mentioned in the beginning, it is not just related to food, it can be applicable for any business as such. Now, coming to food specifically, right? Now, food has certain things which are inherent to this particular domain. One is that, of course, all of us consume it, right? Like many other things, food and pharmaceuticals are two things we consume, we take it inside the body. So it's very important for us to not only understand the market potential, but also understand what are the trends in terms of diet, right? So all of a sudden, in the last, I think post-COVID, everybody is looking at more healthy food coming. So that's a dietary shift which has happened. So understanding these trends is very, very critical. The other important aspect is that food um, is a segment which is governed by certain laws in India and of course everywhere else. So it's a regulated segment. So what are the regulations? You should also understand that. So therefore, uh, market research is all the more important for food businesses. So you need to understand your consumer preferences in a country like ours, where north to south, east to west, there are so many changes in taste. Our palates change. it's very important to understand what is the kind of preferences consumers have towards any particular food product. Of course, then understanding dietary trends, right? So are people still consuming sugar? Are they looking at more healthy options? Right? So these are dietary trends which we see of late. Then, as I was mentioning earlier, the understanding the regulatory framework around which that particular food product works, what are the compliances which are there, right? These in total will help uh, understanding the market ecosystem which you're getting into. It will also help you make proper decision when it comes to positioning your brand. So therefore, it becomes all the more critical for food businesses. Okay. Now let's look at what are the different kind of market researches which are available. So we start off with something called as ad testing. Of course, it's not relevant for us directly. Next is what we call as market segmentation research. So in this case, what happens is, let's say you want to come up with a set of cookies, which is, let's say, a millet-based cookies, right? So you like to understand what are the different segments of market where I can actually pitch this product. So you may look at from an you might say, okay, I maybe tier one is more relatable to this, or maybe rural population is more relatable. So you'd like to understand what are the different segments, what is these different groups of people, what are the different buckets of people who would actually connect with my product. So that particular research is what is called as market segmentation research. Next is, of course, what we call as concept testing. Now, this is when your product is still in a concept development stage. At this point of time, you may have a product in hand, which you would have tied up with the with a product development setup like ours, and you would have created some product. At the same time, you may also have an idea, or you may have a similar product, and you would like to test how are people receiving this. Are they really keen on consuming this? Is there a market for this? So that's what a concept testing is all about. Competitive market research is where you study the competition. You would like to understand what is the entire uh, landscape of this product category looking at. So coming back to cookies again. So in this case, there is of course the cookies market, and then there's of course a millet-based products market. So you might want to study what are the different consumers which are available, consumer segments which are available. What are the different competition which are already playing in this market. It will help you understand where you should enter as a product. Then of course, market trend research. So this is to do with how the trend is going on for your product category and what is the future hold. So there are ways of doing a trend spotting and trend forecasting, which is, of course, when you come to experts like us, we can take you through the entire process and um, let you know how to go about reading the trends. Then you would like to understand the pricing, uh, which is very similar to what we spoke about when it came to competitors. Okay. And then, of course, customer satisfaction market research. So this happens for companies who are already out there with certain product and they would like to understand the customer satisfaction, which is also called as CSAT. Okay. There are companies who do a CSAT index and try to understand that, okay, if I launched a new product, what is the customer satisfaction on that before they go to the next level and take it more aggressively to newer markets. Now, there are certain key elements of market research which we should talk about briefly. First and foremost is identification of target. So these are people who are actually going to consume your product. So it is very important for you to understand who are these people going to be, right? And I would also like to point out here, you have to also understand that there are times when your consumer and your customer can be different, right? So, for example, let's say if you're coming up with a baby product or product for kids and babies, so your consumers might be kids, but the customers will always be people who are purchasing it, so which may be parents or caretakers in that case. So you have to really understand which is your target market. Okay. The next aspect is, of course, identifying what are the different competition which is available there, the current players. A lot of people say that, hey, listen, this is a unique concept and there is no there is no competition. But what happens is when you actually start selling your product, you're replacing some product from the shelf, right? So the product which you're going to replace is basically the product which is going to be your competition. Okay? Then you should understand the trends from an from an industry perspective, and of course from a consumer point of view. Then get in the customer experience inputs, right? CX stands for customer experience. So these are inputs which are coming from potential customers. So when you do your market research, you would actually try to understand a lot of softer aspects as well as to why people would prefer your product or would not prefer your product. There are simple things like, the product is too sweet or it is too tangy, right? So these help you in refining your product. Okay? Then of course, once you launch the product, you have to make sure that you are monitoring its performance. You may have to do a revalidation. You may have to do a product positioning, which may change, right? So in the initial time, even if you've launched your product, you may still have to continue with your market research just to get your feedback from the market. So those are some of the key elements of market research. Now let's look at the entire market research perspective from a food angle. Right? So as I was mentioning that one of the critical elements about food business is the regulations and the standards. So when you're actually doing a market research, you should also be understanding what is the regulatory landscape, okay, and how that has been changing. You should be able to monitor the changes which is happening and try and benchmark yourself against set industry standards and best practices. So this is where, if you're actually planning to launch a product or you plan to diversify your product line, you should reach out to experts like us because we would already have the know-how and the wherewithal to guide you with all these uh, industry regulations and standards. All right. Let's understand a typical MR process. So typically a market research process starts with something called as problem definition. In this case, what we do is we first try and understand uh, what is that I'm trying to solve? What is my problem? So you say, okay, I want to understand what is the price point which I should be selling at. And I've got, let's say, three kind of grammages for my product. And let's get back to the millet cookies itself. So I say, okay, I'll do a 10 piece or a 10 cookies packet. I'll do a 20 cookies packet and a 50 piece cookies packet, right? So I want to understand what should my pricing be. So that could be a problem statement. So you have to, first of all, identify a problem which you're trying to solve through the market research. Then, of course, the next thing is how will you formulate a solution to this, right? So you say, okay, I want to test around 30 such SKUs across markets like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So that is basically when you're defining that how will you solve that particular problem. And then you're saying that I will do a market research using my product for these markets. Okay. And then we do something called as research design selection. So research design is basically when you actually go ahead and define what are the different modes or tools of market research which you will use. We will have a look at some of this on the next slide. Okay, and once you have actually decided on that, you move on to administering those tools and you start collecting data around it. So data collection will take some time. And then once all the data is collected, you have to clean it up, put it together so that it starts making sense. And that is what data processing is all about. And once your data is processed, you actually need to analyze all the data and come up with insights which will help you solve your problem definition. So that's the typical MR process. Now, we spoke about some of the research design selection. So market research has certain modes or methods which are pretty common. And we'll just talk about it one by one. So the first common tool which people use is what is called as surveys. So surveys can be online as well as offline surveys. In this case, you define a set of questions, you reach out to certain people and you ask them to fill the question. So that is, those are what surveys are all about. Survey designing itself is very critical because you are reaching out to people and taking their time for answering your questions. So you should have to make sure that there is no duplication of questions which is happening. All the questions should have certain purpose. They just cannot be there for the heck of it, right? So yes, there are certain demographic data you would like to capture, like uh, gender or age. But beyond that, whatever input which you are asking in your survey should have to have certain purpose. People tend to shy away from answering questions if it's too much of probing nature. At the same time, if it is too lengthy, they just want to, move away from it. So you don't want wrong kind of inputs coming into your market research. So ideally, you should design your surveys in such a way that people receive it and it has a purpose to it. Next up is what we call as focus groups. Now, focus groups are very close group discussions where you will see a moderator sitting and just having open-ended conversation about the problem statement itself. Now, though the discussion, if you see from an external point of view, will look very free-flowing, but typically the moderator has a plan. They already have certain inputs they would like to take away from the focus group, and that is how they moderate the discussion. But again, it's a very open-ended conversation. It is typically done, let's say you might take some banquet hall, not a banquet hall, but a conference room, or maybe go to a shared office and call up 6 to 10 people, and generally just ask them to talk about certain product, certain service. You may also want to give them some samples at times. So that's what a focus group discussion is. Then there is something called as in-depth interview. So in-depth interviews are uh, next level of surveys where you actually go and take appointment from a certain person and tell them that this is the purpose I want to meet you for, and I'll probably take 1 hour of your time. And you have your set of questions, and sorry, you go and discuss those questions with them on a one-on-one basis. Then we have something called as observational research. So observational research is very similar to ethnographic research, which I'll come back and talk about. But rather, it's a research where you actually observe how people are reacting and behaving to your product or service. Then we have something called as secondary research. Secondary research is also called as desk research. So this is when you're basically accessing documents which are already there in public domain. They may be paid or unpaid, and you're trying to analyze those documents and create insights which are relatable to your product line. Okay. Secondary research can also be done to help you formulate questions for your surveys, focus groups, and in-depth interviews. Then we have something called as social media monitoring or social media listening. This is a new set of tool wherein you would deploy certain tools which will come up and throw certain keywords and hashtags which are trending. It is not an absolute way of measuring your outcomes, but it gives you an indication that what is the buzz all about. Then we have online analytics. It is something which is very helpful when it comes to understanding how your product may perform on certain e-commerce platforms or how people might react. So a lot of people actually, it's basically trying to understand the consumer journey, right? So, and it would have happened with each one of you as well. Sometimes when you buy products online, you plan on buying something, but you end up buying something else. Right? So that's the entire consumer journey. So there are ways and methods to actually understand that piece as well. uh, Next is something called as ethnographic research. Ethnographic research is not very relevant to food. So I'll just give a quick input about that and we'll move on. Ethnographic research is mainly to do with, you going and staying with that particular community or with a particular group which actually is manufacturing a product and understanding how they are behaving. Uh, Next is what we call as experimental research. So experimental research is purely scientific, wherein you have a set of control and you have a set of experiment, there are samples there and you expose them to certain conditions and find out how they are behaving, and you try to make a statistical correlation. Um, then, of course, we have mystery shopping. So, mystery shopping is a very popular uh, tool which lot many times is used for market research. It is largely to do with customer experience and uh, the look and feel of the product. In this case, what happens is, let's say if you have a retail store, or let's say you have a bakery, or let's say you are selling something online. So you would just ask someone to go there and do the entire consumer journey, maybe pick up a product, eat it as well, and come back and give feedback against a certain point. So that is mystery shopping all about. We also have something very popular which is used for food product per se is organoleptic uh, testing, which we do. So this helps you before you actually go to the market with your product. It helps you understand what are the different aspects of the product which uh, your consumer set may or may not like. So that those are some of the uh, typical modes of conducting a market research. If there are any questions now, we can take that. Anyone has any question? I was a bit uh, brief, but I hope I was able to add value. Okay, so there are no questions. I'd like to thank you all for hearing me out.